journey that led to the Greenburger Center's creation started with my son's involvement with the criminal justice system.
Morgan had basically robbed a cab driver with a friend that he met on the street. I think, as Francis has said, it was really more about trying to have a friend, trying to connect with another human being. So Morgan was out on bail. His father bailed him out. He became paranoid, and he thought that a drug dealer was after him. He called the police, and the police came to his apartment and realized there was no drug dealer after him. But they, importantly, left him there in the state of paranoia. And Morgan was still very afraid. And so he thought, well, if the police can't help me, then the firemen, maybe they can help me. So he took some garbage from his trash and put it on his stove and started a fire and watched it burn. And called the fire department and said, there's a fire. The firemen came in, the police came in, they put the fire out. They asked him about it, and they said, did you know someone else was in the apartment? And he said, yes. His caregiver was downstairs with a friend, and so it became a violent crime. It became arson.
And I had told the DA that he had a life history of mental health issues, and I asked the DA, wouldn't it be a better resolution to his situation if I could find an appropriate mental health setting for him, as opposed to going to prison? His person assigned to his case said, well, yeah, that would be a better resolution if I could find a secure facility where he could receive the mental health treatment. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but the guy was kind of sending me on a fool's errand because there aren't any such facilities. But I searched, and of course, I didn't find anything.
Morgan ended up going to prison. He spent 2 years at Rikers and almost 2 years, I guess, upstate. During that time, we started the Greenburger Center. We knew we couldn't help Morgan, but we wanted to help other people.
I decided to take a deeper look into the criminal justice system and ended up partnering with Cheryl Roberts, who was a former Justice of the Peace and also General Counsel to the City of Hudson.
When Francis Greenburger and I decided to start the Greenburger Center, before we incorporated, we took 6 months and we went on what he called a listening tour. And so we went around New York State, we went around the country, talking to people about what they needed to keep them and their loved ones out of the criminal justice system.
Spoke with inmates from New York to California. We spoke to people in the middle of the system and the people running the systems. And there seemed to be universal feeling that something was wrong and that the system really wasn't working.
I always wanted to create some kind of police reform since I was, a councilman before I was mayor. We had initiatives like Handle with Care and different things like that. So when the murder of George Floyd took place, I wanted to have a uniform plan when it came to police reform. And, I knew that was going to be something that is no easy task. So I'm familiar with the Greenburger Center's work. So I reached out to them to, really partner on this to kind of create a plan that, would benefit our city from years to come.
We want to do more than just train the police, although that's critically important when someone's in a mental health crisis to know what to do. It's important for both the person and also the police. I don't know one police officer that goes to work and thinks, oh, today I'm going to, be a mental health counselor, or today I'm going to have to, shoot someone who's in a mental health crisis. That's not what they want to do. It's important to train them to de-escalate, but we wanted to do more than that. And that was to prevent people from ever getting into the criminal justice system to begin with. And that's really where the notion to have a joint task force with the county come together and then try and come up with solutions to fill those gaps.
We created a task force. In that task force, I wanted to make sure there was no gaps in any type of resources or programming. So we reached out to the school district, the hospitals, any of our substance abuse resources and the court systems, literally everyone around the county to be a part of this. We wanted to make sure that not only that we weren't seeing anything that could possibly fall through the crack, but we want to know what each partner is doing as well. The Wellness Hub is kind of the brainchild of the task force and everything that happened over the last, I would say, 3-4 years. It's gonna play a pivotal role in our community. It's gonna have a 20 to 30 bed homeless shelter. It's also gonna play that main role where someone can go and all the services are there, so they don't have to tell you to go to this building or refer you to this person. Like, that person will be there and able to connect you to other resources across the county.
One of the beautiful things about the Wellness Hub and this vision and this concept, one of the reasons why it's so amazing and I get excited to talk about it, is because it's a campus-like environment. There is a continuity. A person can transition from one to the other. If you come into the Wellness Hub, maybe as a homeless individual, you move on to the transitional housing, and then if you're fortunate enough to be eligible and there's availability in the permanent housing, you can just follow that continuum. We're also going to have service providers on a limited, but definitely there will be service providers present on this campus-like environment to offer direct services to individuals. Before we get into the conversation about, what's going on, what's the presenting problem, they can be in a better space to have that conversation. Too often we try to address a person's larger needs before looking at the more obvious type of needs: food, clothing, shelter, their overall wellness, basic needs. So I think another beauty of the Wellness Hub is that we aim to do that.
So when we were looking for a location, I knew there was some vacant property by the jail. A guy named Paul Colarusso, a colleague of ours, Paul owned the property. So I called up Paul and said, guess what, we want to do. And without hesitation, Paul said, yes, I'm in. I mean, he was enthusiastic and willing from the get-go. And without Paul and that donation, we wouldn't have a Wellness Hub. It was really Dan Alamasi, from my recollection, who said, hey, this company, RUPCO, is, we just met with them and we should talk with them about developing the hub.
I think it was one of our project managers at RUPCO who first brought the project to us. They attended an early meeting of a group of folks up in Columbia County who were working on this idea of creating a wellness hub. Cheryl put together a meeting. We had the mayor of the City of Hudson, we had the supervisor from the town of Greenport, we had several elected county legislators, and it was just a group of people who had been involved in the planning of this. They were fully on board, fully supportive. This was a project that they put together, and everyone in the room was shaking their head yes.
And at the end, he said he's all in, that he had never before seen so much support for, investment in, commitment to a project.
It gives me a lot of confidence that this is a good project, well thought out, well supported, and one that we can really get behind and help to move along.
Having them say, yes, this could work, was significant. For me, that was confirmation that, yeah, we had done it. We had done a good job, and this was unique, and it was really different, and that this kind of cooperation didn't happen every day.
RUPCO's work in the supportive housing world starts with the Stuyvesant, one of our long-standing projects where we have provided supportive housing. But as the Empire State Supportive Housing Initiative has come to fruition here in New York, we have been adding supportive housing to all of our projects, both phases of Newburgh, Energy Square. Of course, Landmark Place is our largest supportive housing project. We have quite a track record of building and managing, doing the property management, but also providing supportive services in this realm of permanent supportive housing. And we look forward to opportunities that the Wellness Hub might present for us to do the same in Columbia County.
Columbia County has never had a homeless shelter. We have relied on this motel model, which from a financial standpoint also is incredibly less than ideal. I'm extremely excited to be able to bring homeless individuals to a centralized place, a campus-like environment that's warm, welcoming, nurturing, anything but a dank, dark motel.
My vision, for when the hub is built is to really lower the impact that the traffic is causing on our emergency system. A lot of times people are going right to the emergency room for issues and then they're not getting that after help.
Can't tell you how many parents I've talked to across the country who have just no place else to turn when their child, like Morgan Greenburger, end up in the criminal justice system after they and their child tried everything. And so if we are able to give people an option, a therapeutic option to incarceration, I think that will be an important legacy as well.
What I expect the Greenburger Center to do, to keep forging ahead, looking at things that are important, that are not being thought about, or at least thought about in the right way, and trying to open up conversations and helping develop policy that improves criminal justice and improves civil justice.